So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm excited to do this with you guys.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's start with maybe just like an intro from you. What brought you to the Bay?
What brought me to the Bay? So before my media career, I was in sports partnerships, and I used to work for the Miami Dolphins and in partnerships. And my former boss at the Miami Dolphins had introduced me to the chief marketing officer of the Warriors at the time. His name was Chip Bowers. And we had a conversation, a great intro conversation just to learn about partnerships. A year later, he hit me up on LinkedIn and was like, hey, we're opening a new building and we need like a top team to like open up the building and bring about partnerships, things of that sort. So would you be interested in applying? And I was like, heck yeah. They had just won a championship. And I still remember going into my boss's office at the Miami Dolphins and being like, hey, the Warriors want me to interview. And the only thing he could do was just, because, like you can't, it's hard to compete with the Warriors. So
coming from football, and I'm sure that there's a few different sports that you're familiar with. What was the difference coming from football to basketball? Was it a tough adjustment or is it just sports?
Actually, I think it was an easier adjustment. One, because I played basketball, so I knew the sport a lot better. But also, the NBA operates very differently than the NFL. In the NFL, I would say that each NFL team operates as if they are the NFL themselves. They're very insulated in each organization versus the NBA is very much a brotherhood. And like, there's a lot of cooperation between the teams, or, there would be oftentimes I would get a call from the Hawks or the Bucks or whomever of like, hey, you've got a partner that I've got. What's your partnership look like? That did not happen at all in the NFL. I think the only team that ever hit us up to talk about what we did was Cleveland. And so it was actually a lot easier coming to the NBA because I felt like I already had people there like waiting for me to help me out, to help me adjust, to teach me how things were, like the processes of the place. And whereas the NFL was like, we just do things here in a very particular way. If I was to go somewhere else, it'd be completely different.
Tell us about like transitioning from kind of the corporate side of the Warriors onto, being a face.
Yeah, sure. So to back up a little bit, I came out of business school and went down to the Miami Dolphins. I sold tickets for a season. The worst. It was awful. Mm-hmm. And after that, I was like, I'm good on this. I cannot do this. I need something that's a little bit more mind challenging or, engaging. I want something that's a little bit less transactional. And so I got into partnerships, and that was amazing. I did that for about 3 years at the Dolphins, or 2 years total, I think, and then went over to the Warriors and joined their team as they were opening up Chase Center. That year, prior to Chase Center being opened, was one of the most fun years of my career because all we were doing, we got rid of all of the current partnership contracts and redid them to basically restart them in the face of the building opening, right? And so it was just talking to partners about new ideas, new concepts. What would you want in a partnership? And then also thinking about a building that we literally didn't know what it looked like. Like it was in the process of being built. So that was kind of crazy of a process. But I loved how much our partners bought in, how fun the process of thinking up of new ideas, negotiating, all of the above was. And then we opened the building. And then it was time to execute. And then COVID hit. Mm. And everything that we had done in that 1 year really didn't mean much because a lot of it we couldn't execute upon, right? We couldn't give tickets. We couldn't do on-court activations or at the arena activations. Like there were so many different things that we had negotiated that we couldn't do. And so that was the next fun part, which was a lot more ideation, thinking through, renegotiating, all of the above, lots of interface with our partners. And I had a lot of fun with that. Then we got to a point where we were good again. And then it got still again. And I was like, wait, there's something missing here. Like I had a lot of fun in that part to open the arena. I had a lot of fun to renegotiate in COVID. And now I'm like kind of stagnant again. What do I need right now? And it was that ideation. It was that, negotiation, coming up with something new. And so I decided to leave the Warriors and go to tech, media, sports. And I joined The Athletic. And that was fun because I joined a team that was brand new. It was a strategic partnerships team that essentially we were going to do what I had done with the Warriors, which was come up with new partnerships that would essentially change the face of the app, of The Athletic. And that was exactly what I wanted, was what I found at The Athletic. We were able to bring upon some big partners and do some really cool things there. Then I had all this time on my hands because The Athletic was a remote job. And I was like, all right, what do I want to do? Like, what have I always wanted to do? What I have all the time to do now? Well, since I was a little girl, I always wanted to talk on TV. I don't know what it was. I loved the morning announcements. I loved, I just always wanted to do it. I love telling stories. I love asking people questions. I love cultivating conversations. You could tell by the length of this question that I love to talk, like how long I'm taking to respond. But, so I hit up Kareth Burke, who worked for NBC Sports Bay Area, because we had done a panel while I was with the Warriors just a few months earlier. And I was like, I want to know about what you do. How'd you get into it? What do you do? Et cetera. And she was too busy to talk at the time. And she was like, I will get back to you, but go apply for this job in the meanwhile. And it was the Santa Cruz sideline reporting, which is the G League team of the Warriors. And so I was like, okay. And we did eventually talk, and she was so helpful in just being like, this is what you need to put together. If you need a recommendation, I'll, whatever. But let's just be real. They knew me, right? Santa Cruz knew me because I had worked at the Warriors. And they knew I could speak relatively well, and they needed a sideline reporter. And so I got the opportunity. And after doing that for 2 years, I got noticed by NBC Sports, because even though I was on that broadcast that shows up on NBC Sports, and their producers brought me in for some opportunities, and the rest is history. So, yeah.
The original dream was talking on TV.
Yeah.
What is maybe like a next big dream? Or have you thought about that? Or are you just kind of like taking it one day at a time?
For the most part, I take it one day at a time. And, talking on TV is very much talking sports on TV. Like, I tell this story often, but when I was in second grade, I had a teacher named Miss Windley that had us write on a green butterfly, like on one side what school we wanted to go to, and the other side what job we wanted one day. And for me, I had always seen the way that people adored, valued, worshipped ESPN. And I always thought that was really, even at house parties, there would be a whole party going on, and people would crowd around the television if ESPN was on. So I wanted to be an ESPN anchor. And at the time, Bill Clinton was president. So I was like, all right, I want to go, and I got one half done. And I was like, all right, maybe I'll get to ESPN. I don't know if ESPN is still the dream. And most people always say, we're going to see you on ESPN one day, all that. Right now, I am taking it mostly one day at a time. I think the biggest dream I have right now is this summer is the Olympics, and it's particularly in Paris. I was born originally in Paris, and it would just be too full circle for me to go and be talking and working in sports, covering the Olympics in my hometown as a former athlete. It'd be like a dream come true. So that's my big dream. We'll see what happens.
Do the fact that you were a former athlete ever come up when you talk with these players, or how does it come up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. The other day I asked Steve Kerr a question about defense. And I don't know, if you've never played defense before in basketball, if you've never done a defensive drill, if you've never been in practice where today we don't touch the ball, all we're doing is defense, you don't know how deep it can go when it comes to defense, and how much you can almost hate your life, right, around defensive drills and things of that sort. But it also requires you to understand the level of heart and hustle and emotion tied to defense, more so than actual skill sometimes, and athleticism, things of that sort. So when I posed the question to Steve, I framed it in the sense of, we know that defense has an aspect of heart and hustle to it. But we also know that you're dealing with the professional basketball players, the best in the world, right? How much do you balance them just playing hard and doing the heart and hustle aspect to it over you giving them a scheme and them having, some approach to defense? And he said, it's a great point. And I think it's a point that if I played, will I understand what it means to have a difference between Coach Kirk can only do so much when it comes to defense and the little things, right? He can only do so much in terms of assignments or lineups or choosing man versus zone. But when it comes to little mistakes, not making the extra rotation, not diving on the ball for a loose, like 50-50 ball, box outs, those things he can't scheme for. Those are hard hustle. And he got that because he's played and he coaches. And I got that because I played. And so it's not necessarily that I talk about it, because I don't think anybody gives one about if I played or not. But I don't think anybody cares about if I played or not, but they do care that I can relate to the fact that I understand what that looks like, right? I can understand that there's a certain standard when it comes to X, Y, and Z aspect of basketball, or a certain process or a certain approach or whatever. And it makes asking the question more relatable because I'm coming from the same perspective versus someone that knows nothing about basketball and is just asking a question that someone's like, if you played, you would have known the answer to that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Obviously being a prominent woman now in the Warriors space as a face of them, do you feel like you have like a larger sense of purpose as like being a woman in this very like male dominated space? How do you feel about, the Bay is getting a WNBA team, we're getting a women's soccer team. There's so much change happening in this area, but also just across like global sport.
Oh, for sure.
Any thoughts on that?
Oh, for sure. Having been in a male-dominated field for a very long time, I am always mindful of how I show up in this space. And I'm always growing in how I show up in this space. And now I would say in the last 3-4 years of my career, I'm always growing in how I advocate for others in this space and stand up for myself in a way to stand up for others. It's been a process of growing, it's been a journey, I'll say that. And it's still a journey, but I am always mindful of that. It is definitely dope that the Bay is getting Bay FC and they're getting the WNBA team, which is the name, TBD, and I'm really happy that women's sports in general are just starting to get the recognition and the viewership and the buy-in that they deserve. It's really cool for me to be having a random conversation with one of my producers about how much he loves women's basketball. And it's not like this like edgy thing for him, right? He doesn't think that he's like on the fringe because he's a women's basketball lover. This is just normal for him to know about Minnesota basketball or whatever it is. That's where he was from. But it just shows you that I think the Bay in general, the way that they've loved Stanford women's basketball, Cal women's basketball in general on the high school level, even here, they've been overdue for this. And so it's cool to just be a part of it, to be a part of that surge, to get the pro level here and the representation here. For me, the representation from on TV is very much from a perspective of a Black woman. Because when you think about, especially what you see in the media about Black women, especially around sports, there's a lot of stereotypes. There's a lot of presumptions about the type of people we are, the things that we value, how smart we are, how versatile we are, how nuanced we are. And a lot of people think that Black people and Black women are monolithic and we're all the same type of people and we have all the same types of problems and all the same types of goals and aspirations. And so I know that anytime I show up on television, it's important for me to show up like myself. And it's also important for me to show up and represent my group of people well. Because anytime that I show up, I can change the minds of someone that may have had a presumption about what women are like, what Black women are like, what women of color are like. And so that, I think, is more, I am more aware of that than I am of being in a male-dominated field. Because I've seen so many great women. So I feel like maybe I'm spoiled in that route, that like I'm not as concerned about that part of it as I am representing the concept of what a Black woman is in a different way or a different light, in a positive light. Because not only are other people that don't look like me judging me and using me as a baseline to judge others that they come across in their normal everyday, there's young girls that look like me that are constantly being fed images and thoughts of how they should be as Black women. And I just want to show them, here's another opportunity. Here's another way to do it. While also not losing yourself, right? You don't have to change yourself to fit into some sort of mold, and still, have fun on television and be yourself and do the handshakes and whatever it is, that's what I think about more. So when I'm in front of television or the camera, excuse me.
Has it set in yet that you could fill that role model figure as someone that young Black girls in the Bay Area watch as somebody prominent in Bay Area sports media?
It's a great question. And I don't think so. And the reason why I don't think it has is because the other day I was at the arena and I was walking by the group of people that come on the court when the players are announced. So it's just sometimes random fans and things of that sort. And someone yelled out my name. And they're like, Zena, and they get saying it. But they were saying it so confidently that I was like, oh, this person absolutely knows who I am. One, I have bad vision. And I can sometimes be terrible with names, but I can know faces. So I'll squint and be like, why do I know you? I know you from somewhere. And I was looking at this person and I was like, I have quite literally never seen you before. And it hit me oh wait, people know your name that you may not know yet. And I feel like that hasn't hit me yet. People telling me, even people still telling me that we saw you on TV, or people saying, my family was watching you on TV, or my dad saw you. And I'm like, oh, wait, I am not in Santa Cruz anymore, where people are not, it's just Santa Cruz maybe that's watching the games, or, they're a very small local, this is the Bay Area watching NBC Sports and seeing me on television. And the fact that I hadn't even gotten that part yet makes me think, I don't think I'm really aware of maybe how many young Black girls are watching me too. I had a friend of mine that has a young daughter that was explaining how much I mean to her daughter to the point of tears. And I was like, wow, it didn't hit me. I don't think it hit me at all because I don't see them, every day. And so I don't think it hit me, but it means a lot. It means a whole heck of a lot because I was them. I have my own idols that I look up to and I appreciate. And so I know what that feels like to be like, oh, wow, that person's so smart. Or I love the way she speaks. Or she's so confident. The way that, all these things that I want to portray, I know what that looks like. And so it's cool to think that there's little girls that, of all races really, but especially little Black girls, that, have someone to look up to. And it's me. That's kind of crazy.
Also, as you were saying, it kind of goes beyond the Bay because the Warriors have fans all over the world and they absolutely watch streams.
No, I had a friend that was in a bar in Chicago. Actually, no, crazy story. Let me get this right. A friend sent me a screenshot of his friend's Instagram story playing pool in a bar in Chicago. And my face was behind this person playing pool in a bar in Chicago on his friend's Instagram story. And I was like...
It's the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah! I was
or whatever
what the hell? He was like, I don't even know how I noticed this. That I would have completely just skipped past this. There's no way this person knows you. They're not in the Bay, whatever. And then I learned such a thing called, League Pass. And bars use League Pass. And when they do League Pass, that is when they actually use the local streams. And that's when I was like, oh my God, people are seeing my face all over the place.
Yeah.
That was surreal.
Yeah. And League Pass is so big in Europe and Asia as well.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Natasha. Girl, okay, you just hit me on another one. I did not even think about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very big.
Wow.
Is your mom locked in?
Oh, my mom's definitely locked in. My mom is definitely locked in. Whoa, that's kind of insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is also new to me, as you can tell. It hasn't really hit me yet.
Yeah.
I'm still just enjoying the journey. Yeah. Whoa. Thank you, Natasha. Now I'm going to think about that all day.
Don't think about it too hard.
Okay.
Cool. Global phenomenon.
True. It's true.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, no, it's real.
We've talked about kind of how far you've come along. What would you tell yourself 5 years ago? The Zena that was working for the Miami Dolphins, corporate job. What would you go back and tell her, if anything?
I would tell her, stop being so comfortable. I would tell her that her greatness is right outside her comfort zone, and to not allow imposter syndrome to allow her to remain comfortable, especially just because what her comfort was other people's discomfort. I know that a lot of what I've achieved in life, other people would be like, oh, that's amazing. That's so dope. That's cool. That's crazy. That's impressive. But I knew even then that I could do more. I was just too scared to do it. So I'd tell her, go now. Stop being so comfortable. Stop being so okay with being in this comfortable space just because everybody else is impressed by it. Go be uncomfortable. You'll be shocked at what we get done and how much sooner we get it done. And I'd let her know that I would say, I tell her, I give you grace for not. I understand why you had imposter syndrome. I understand why it felt more comfortable to stay where you were. But I would tell her, we're not doing this ever again. Next time opportunities like this come about, we're going after it, because look at what we've done in this very short amount of time with no formal training, with just connections and hard work. Imagine what I could do. Imagine what we could do if you just go after it sooner and with more confidence. So that's what I would tell her.